the Vethral Compact, had not lost a warship in 11 years. I say this not to honor them. I say it because it is the fact that made everything that followed feel impossible until it wasn't. My name is Orath Den. My rank is Signals Interpreter, 3rd tier, assigned to the tender patience of Vel, a re-echelon relay and communications vessel, unarmed, carrying a crew of 19 and enough antenna arrays to hear a whisper at 30 light minutes. We were not a warship. We were never meant to be close to a warship. On the day the Vethral Compact sent its ultimatum to Earth, I was 300,000 kilometers behind the line of battle, logging traffic on a cold channel, and what I heard has not left me since. The Compact's reconstruction grid was our pride. 41 species had learned what it meant to fight us. When you destroy a Vethral warship, we rebuild it, not a copy, not an approximation, but the exact vessel, atom recalled, hull and weapon load and drive signature reconstituted from the debris field in under 6 minutes. We had won wars by attrition reversal. The enemy depleted their ordnance, destroying our ships, and we gave them the ships back. 6 times in the Compact's history, we had turned an enemy's own kill count into a weapon. 6 times the enemy had broken. The ultimatum to Earth was not a declaration of war. It was a formality. Earth had 7 vessels registered in the Vethral grid, 7 aging patrol weights, slow, minimally armed, logged as non-threat. The Compact's expansion corridor ran directly through the Terran buffer zone. The Council issued the notice in the standard form: vacate within 40 days or be classified as obstruction. The Terran diplomatic response was 11 words. I decoded it myself, read it twice, and filed it under non-compliant. The 11 words were: we will not vacate. We suggest you reconsider the corridor. The Compact did not reconsider. On the 41st day, a single Terran warship appeared at the Vethral line. I know now what it looked like to the line commanders. Our deep sensors logged it as a wedge-hull dreadnought, heavy class, drive signature consistent with Terran iron line construction. It was large, not Armada large, but uncomfortably large for a vessel the archive had no file on. No registry, no origin port notation, no crew manifest ping in the diplomatic exchange band. It simply appeared at the line, bearing directly toward the boundary marker of the Compact's forward fleet, and it did not slow. Commander Vareth Sol ordered one warning broadcast. Standard Compact protocol: halt, identify, submit to registry scan. The warship did not halt. Commander Sol ordered the forward battery to fire. 11 warships engaged. The dreadnought took 47 seconds to come apart. Our weapons did what weapons do. The hull cracked along the port spine first, then the magazine cooked off, and the debris field spread across a 500,000 kilometer radius in the time it takes to exhale. Clean kill. Textbook. The Compact logged the vessel as Terran hull, class unknown, destroyed at the line, day 41 of noncompliance. Then they activated the reconstruction grid. This was standard. This is what we did. The grid reached into the debris, cataloged the material, and began the rebuild. It takes 5 minutes and 40 seconds under optimal conditions. The debris field was dense, the mass recovery efficiency high. Our technicians called it a good reconstruction candidate: clean fragmentation, limited scatter. I remember hearing that on the channel. Good candidate. Someone on the grid tender said it almost cheerfully. At 4 minutes and 12 seconds into the reconstruction, I noticed something wrong on my passive array. The debris field was reconstructing cleanly. Too cleanly. The mass ratios were matching perfectly, but the reactor residue signature from the original kill was not what I expected. A warship that size, running at combat readiness, should have left a particular isotope scatter in the debris. Hot drive, full weapons charge, crew support systems drawing full load. That cocktail leaves a signature I know how to read. I had logged 400 combat kills in 11 years of signals work. I knew what a warship's death smelled like on a sensor board. This one smelled like cold metal, like a ship that had never been lit. I filed an exception query on the standard channel. I noted the reactor residue anomaly. I marked it review pending, non-urgent. I do not know if anyone read it before the reconstruction completed. At 5 minutes and 51 seconds, the reconstruction grid delivered its product. A perfect copy of the dreadnought we had just destroyed, floating at the edge of the debris field, fully reconstituted, drive dark, weapon cold. Standard procedure. The grid technicians run a systems check, bring the drives to idle, and then route the reconstructed hull to the forward line to be rearmed and recrewed by compact forces. The hull would become our asset. That was the point of the grid. That had always been the point. The grid tender began its systems check. 63 seconds later, the reconstructed dreadnought's drive signature lit, not the compact's activation sequence, not the grid tender's handshake protocol. Something else. A Terran startup sequence, running on an interior power plant that the reconstruction grid had faithfully rebuilt from the original drone's preloaded detonation architecture. The drone hull detonated. I know the number precisely because I counted the contacts going dark on my array in the 13 seconds that followed. 22. 22 compact warships in the immediate reconstruction zone, killed by the grid's own product. The grid tender itself was gone in the first 3 seconds. Then the Terrans folded in. I do not have the exact figure for the folding count. My array was damaged in the overpressure wave, and I lost 17% of my passive sensors in the first 30 seconds. What I can tell you is that they came in from the blue in staggered transit emergence. Not one ship, not a squadron. A fleet. A fleet that had been waiting one relay point behind the line for an event that, I understand now, they had specifically engineered. They came in on a heading that put them between the debris field and the compact's rear echelon, between them and me. 9 minutes after the reconstruction detonated, Commander Sol broadcast a general withdrawal. I logged it. I logged the contact count as the compact fleet broke formation. I counted 41 warships dark on my array, 22 from the detonation chain, 19 more in the 9 minutes of engagement that followed. The Terran fleet did not pursue. They held position at the Vethral line, drives lit, and they broadcast on the standard diplomatic channel, the same channel on which the compact had issued its 40-day ultimatum, a single, brief message. I decoded it myself. It said the corridor is closed, file the corrected registry. I sat on the patience of Vel for 6 hours after that, running diagnostics that did not need running, waiting for orders that did not come. The 19 members of my crew were quiet. There is a particular quality to that kind of quiet, the kind that comes when professional people understand that the category they were trained for does not apply anymore. What kept returning to me in those 6 hours was the reconstruction grid's own records. We had rebuilt the Terran hull perfectly. Every component cataloged from the debris field, every mass ratio matched, every architectural feature replicated at specification. Our grid was, in fact, flawless. It had done exactly what it was designed to do. The Terrans had built the drone knowing that. They had built it knowing we would destroy it. They had built it knowing we would reconstruct it. They had built the detonation architecture into its core systems, knowing that our grid would read those systems as debris and faithfully reproduce them in the rebuilt hull. They had aimed our own pride at us like a weapon, and then stepped back and waited for us to fire it. 41 warships. 9 minutes. I do not know how long Earth had been watching us use the reconstruction grid. I do not know how many years it took them to reverse engineer its operating principles well enough to predict what a reconstructed hull would carry back to our formation. I do not know if the corridor ultimatum was a provocation they had hoped for, or one they had manufactured themselves. What I know is that, on the 41st day, a ship that had never been alive crossed the Vethral line, and the compact destroyed it, and the compact rebuilt it, and the compact killed 41 of its own warships with the thing it had rebuilt. And the Terran fleet is still at the line. And the corridor is closed. and somewhere in the archive of the Vethral Compact, an entry has been filed that no grid technician will touch: the original drone hull, hull class unknown, no crew manifest, no registry, destroyed on day 41 of noncompliance. Filed exactly as the Terrans intended, as a kill.